By the way, anyone who wants to know the name of my software that I wrote 40 some years ago, before Microsoft and Apple, the name of it was MOM. We did MOM, multiple operations management, or multiple, it was multiple, what was it, city management. So you call it MOM. I forget what the O was, with the other, multiple organization management. And still, if you look under momsoftware.com, you'll still see all the stuff in it. We did, I started writing it way back in the early 70s. And it's still out there. They still have cities running my software that I wrote in the 70s. So, I wanted to tell you just a little about yourselves. First of all, every one of you, everyone here, all of you, are magic in being, because you are at a spot where you are like 0.001% of our population, because of your uniqueness in allowing yourself and expanding yourself. Instead of limiting yourself as you go through college, you've expanded yourself. You've expanded yourself to say, hey, I now have the world as my campus. I'm not just going down and finding a little accounting job down the corner because it pays much. You really don't know what the heck you guys are going to do you? I bet there isn't one here that has a specific thing that he's studying at this school for. You opened yourself up to not knowing what the heck's going to happen. And that's two things. One, scary, absolutely terrifying. You always have that fear sitting there. But the other thing, you have that excitement sitting there. You have two frames of it. And in my life, when I first started, my mother was a scrub woman and my dad was a truck driver. And we had never in our family, and all the families around us, and all our relatives, never had anyone go to college. Never. So someone that just went to high school, and I was one of the first ones who went to high school. And I looked, I says, maybe people like us don't have enough upstairs to hold all this information. So I was terrified all the time through college that I didn't have enough space up there to hold it all. Now, that means when you study, you had to study about 10 times as much on the same thing because you were frightened you wouldn't get it. Okay. Things I found out were all of us, all the players here anyway, have got not only their essence and their memory, but they have the memory of the universe. And there's proof now that there's more than us that has, there's more than just our brains that hold the information. And if you start studying New Thought, and I always read New Thought. After get my first degree as a truck driver, because that's the occupation I had. I was a member of the Teamsters. I have a good Teamster truck if you ever want. I got a degree in philosophy. Now, I was a truck driver and I had a degree in philosophy, so I knew I had an occupation. The rest is useless. But in life, all kinds of exciting things happen to you if you just allow the space. And that's what I want to share with you, is to allow the space in your life. Don't close doors, and always look at everything that happens and comes through the door as a journey you might take that's special, and you sort of look at how it's going to happen. And never worry about failing, Because you will. Don't worry about it. You will. Okay? I mean, look at people like Einstein. He was successful, right? You ever look at his relationships? How many times has he married? 3, 4, 5? Come on, guys. We fail. We are going to fail. Don't worry about it. Just look at the next thing and say, I'm not going to fail at this. And then if you fail at it, look at it and say, what did I learn? Just what did I learn out of this thing? What did I get? Because there's always something. The universe loves you. There is, I don't like to say God, but there is I call it the universe because it is something beyond any kind of religious connotation. There is something beyond that all of us get to participate in. And as you live in life and you look around, you will find little things that happen. They're just little things that happen. And you say, that shouldn't have happened. That doesn't fit statistics. It doesn't happen. And I call those mystic magic moments. And they happen to all of us. And one of the things that a lot of us do is deny them. Say, oh, that was just. Well, I never have done it for at least 70 years, 60 years, 65 probably. I've always looked at it as, oh, I wonder what that was. Oh, wow. I wonder what kind of magic that came from. Never expected an answer, but somewhere down the road the answer will come to me. It'll just happen. And I want to tell you a story about a mystic magic artifacts. Mystic magic. Now, in my business dealings, I ended up owning an office building in Silicon Valley. And it's actually called after me. It's called the Willard Center. Still, after I sold it, they still keep it the Willard Center. And when I first bought it, I didn't buy it. I put a down payment on it. I eventually bought it 30 years later. But I decided I had a lot more room than I needed for my staff. So in this one big room, it was about twice the size of this, I decided to set up an art gallery. So I set up this art gallery. And I would bring local artists in. I remember one of the artists I brought in, his name was Sami Nadi. He's still my good friend. Sami says, can you help me, Roland? I said, I'd love to. And Sami said, I just need a little space. Well, that set up about a 30-year little space that he had for us. And he just loved to do modeling. And he's from Afghanistan, and they threatened his life, and they were going to kill him because he liked to do movies. And his life was in danger, so he had his little spot, and he went around and sold his art from our place. Well, I really liked that, and I got a whole bunch of other artists in there. Well, one day, in walks this fella, and he had an old pickup. And your name Roland Wilkes? Yes. He says, can you put my art in your studio? I looked at this rough old guy. I says, what do you got to show me? He says, let me show you. And he went out on his pickup, an old pickup, and he threw a canvas back. And the first thing I saw was this alabaster white buffalo. He said, I made this. He says, and over there, see that? There's two dolphins, and they were all in different kinds of rock. And I said, those are phenomenal. I love them. I think they're so beautiful. He says, could you just show them at your place? I says, yeah, I'd love to. So I brought him in and I displayed him. And he was just the nicest fella. And he came back about 3 weeks later, and he said, Roland, what can I do for you that you've given me this? I said, I'll tell you what. I said, I'd really like a magic staff. Because I always like magic. He says, oh, okay, Roland, I'll do it. I says, yeah, sure. So I was there, I was waiting for a magic staff, of course. No, I wasn't. And about a month later, he came back. He says, Roland, I have to tell you this story. He says, first of all, I want to show you the gift. And he went back, pulled the canvas on, and there stood, and that's my product. I usually have this in my auto, and I left it at home because my wife, I need to have more stuff in it. And I had this beautiful staff, it's about this big, and it had a curved face on it, just a gorgeous curved face on it. And I says, it was all one piece. And I looked at it, I says, what is it, a dragon? He said, no, Roland. He says, because I knew what it looked like. He says, it's a snake, just like a snake. And he said, I put 2 eyes on it, and he says, and I put them out. But it's just, he says, when I was up at my mine in the mountains, because I have a mine up in this year, and he says, I was digging, and he says, I saw a manzanita tree. A little, the trees just get pretty small. He says, and it was underneath, he said, I climbed over the top of the bulldozer, and I jumped onto the thing, and I walked, and I grabbed this thing, and he says, I cut it down, and I brought it back. He says, and then I did the rest of it. He says, it was shaped just like this. It was absolutely beautiful. I says, well, thank you. I says, why a snake? He says, Roland, because it was right. He says, a snake? You gotta be kidding me. What does that make me? Well, you gotta get mystic magic significance. You gotta think the mystic magic has something. Well, about a week and a half later, this lady came in. She came into the office, and she was looking for a job. I said, well, I'm not that new. I don't have a job, she says. But she and I sat down, and we talked, and I showed her my staff. It was beautiful. She said, oh, it's so beautiful. And she says, I said, it's a snake. She says, oh, that's wonderful. I said, what? She says, I've got to tell you a story. She says, I listened to this fella by the name of Joseph Campbell. Now, I don't know if any of you heard or listened to Joseph Campbell, but she gave me a set of these DVDs. Yeah, I don't know if the kids know what they are either. They gave these DVDs to me, and she says, these were done at the Lucas Ranch. Now, you everyone know what the Lucas Ranch is? It's George Lucas, the one that did Star Wars. Mm-hmm. Well, he had interviewed Joseph Campbell, and he produced about 5 DVDs on his experiences in the world. And Joseph Campbell, if you look him up on the web, is a great writer on world religions. And she says, well, listen to it all. So that night, of course, I marathoned it and watched it all night long. But on the 4th one, he came in and he said, you know something? He said, they have misinterpreted snakes. And he said, in the world, snake has always been a rebirth. It had always been a rebirth. It has never been a bad thing. He says, somewhere along in that biblical thing got screwed up. He says, if they ever find the real writing, they'll say it wasn't a snake, it was some kind of other, something else. because snakes, on all the other religions, are a rebirth. So always look at yourself and look at snakes as a rebirth. Well, I thought that was beautiful because I'd had a pet snake at home, okay, called Thirsty. It was a big California king snake, about that long. It had come down off the hills. We had a house right in the hills. And it came in the yard, and we were afraid the neighbor would kill it because he hates snakes. So we grabbed it and put it into a nice box. You know, that was an old aquarium. And every night I would take Thirsty out. They called him Thirsty because we thought he came down for water. And I'd take him into the living room, and I'd put him over my neck, and I'd have him start. He would start walking, and I'd put him, and I'd have him go back on this hand, and he'd go back up, and he'd come around, and I walked Thirsty and watching TV. Well, so I said, man, maybe I am something wrong with things. I don't know, I never have a problem with him. Oh, so now you got to get the next thing. I said, where should I go to find more of an answer? And my friend said to me, the one that, he says, go to paradise. Go to paradise? I said, yeah. He says, you're invited next weekend up to my place in Paradise, California. You heard of the place that was just burnt? That's because they sold my software. I ran their city for years and years. But we went up there. We went up there and we went out, and I got a chance. Terry and I are rock people, so we got a chance to go in the dirt and look, because he's a gold prospector. He likes to do gold, but we like to look at all kinds of, if it's a beautiful rock, I love it. And every time we go into rock shops, we would look at the rocks and I'd say, oh man, I want that rock. I want that rock, sweetie. I want this rock. You see, I'm a rock puppy. She's a rock hound. Well, she looked at me and she said, that's her leverite, sweetie. Before I get done, I said, nothing we didn't get anything. She says, well, they're all leverite. Well, leverite means leave it right there. For those that haven't heard it. So I never got many rocks, but we did get enough of them that we had a lot of rocks. But we finished there, we did the mining, and then we ran down into town. And he says, come on, I know a Chinese restaurant that you'll absolutely love. So we went into the Chinese restaurant. And I sat down at the table, and all of us sat down, and they had these mats in front of us. And I looked, and I said, oh, look at that snake. And I looked over, and you know what it was? You know the birth date? 1941, when I was born. I was born in the year of the snake. That's a MysticMagic sign. Always have fun and always look for your MysticMagic signs.
Thank you. Tim, could we please get 2 minutes on the clock for our evaluations?
Here.
I want to start on